Welcome back, Recliner Sports Reporters, to another week's episode of Knockout Bets Podcast. I'm Mac, and with me, as always, is Andrew. Andrew, how we doing,
What's up,
brother?
everybody? It is a good day. A little rainy over here, but not much to complain about.
Yeah, we got a little rain over here ourselves. That good old New England fall rain.
Yeah, that time of year, it's starting to get cold. Every
Oh,
once in a while, there's still a warm day.
gotta love it, though. Gotta love it. It's perfect time right before it gets too cold.
Hey, well, we got like the appetizer to UFC 280 this weekend.
Yes, exactly, buddy. So we have UFC Fight Night, Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Arujo. Um, lots of big names on this card. Um, what is your first kind of thoughts on the card there, Andrew?
I mean, I'll be honest, it's not my favorite card top to bottom that I've ever seen. That's why I'd say it's like the appetizer to the weekend after this coming one. There are a couple, names that stick out to me that I'm just really interested to see how they do, and most of them made it into our highlighted fights. So like Tatsuro Taira, 22 years old, seems to be a guy that has a chance to be a pretty good up and coming prospect. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does. You have the sideshow of Mike Jackson fighting again, so that's sort of mildly interesting in a almost like not even a real fight way, but just to see what happens with the craziness that went down with him and Dean Barry in his last fight. You've got Cub Swanson cutting to 135 pounds. First fight in a little bit, and first fight at 135, I think, in his career at 38 years old. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. You know, Being honest, I know we're supposed to be hyped. I know we're supposed to be, oh, this is the greatest card ever. I don't think it is, but I'm still excited to watch it. There's still some fun fights on here.
Yeah, especially after a long break from the last fight.
Right. I mean, we had a week with no card, then we had one, then we had another week off. So we've had one card in the last 3 weeks. So you're absolutely right. Just having any fights at all is a good thing.
I'm getting a little FOMO on my end. All right, well, the first fight of the night, we got Cicero Taira versus CJ Vergara. What's your first thoughts on this one, Andrew?
Yeah. So the first thought is, I mean, you have Tyra, he's 22 years old. He's 11-0 professionally. He's also 9-0 as an amateur. So he's 20-0 if you look at his overall record. And obviously, starting out super young, not fighting the best level of competition, but then has risen all the way to the UFC at 22 years old. He looks like he should be in a movie. Like, I don't know. The guy just looks like he should be Bruce Lee's sidekick or something. Like his haircut, his whole demeanor, guy's a character, and he's definitely got potential star power. Um, he's also a really, really good fighter who's always going to be getting better at this point in his career. I mean, the guy's 22 years old. You would expect him to improve fight to fight to fight, for at least the next 3 or 4 years as he goes. So I think we're going to be seeing him getting better and better over time. He has power in his hands already. He's primarily a grappler. He has really great submissions. He's super tenacious, really, really good grappler who takes the back well. He has good straight punches on the feet and throws decent kicks too. Vergara, I don't know why I put this in my notes, just because I thought it was mildly interesting. In 2015, he has a split decision win over Jonathan Martinez, who's the co-main event of this card. So that's just one of those weird little tidbits of trivia information from 7 years ago that those guys fought. But anyway, Vergara comes forward hard, strikes pretty well. I mean, if we see this whole fight play out on the feet, I think Vergara's got a shot. I don't think we're going to see this whole fight play out on the feet, though. Vergara is super tough. He's going to fight. He's going to carry his cardio late. He's good in the clinch. He's got big power. He can scramble a little bit on the ground. I think, that's going to be one of the X factors for him is, if he does find himself on his back, is he going to be able to scramble? And I don't think he's going to be able to reverse Tyra, but maybe, you never know. but more importantly, is he going to be able to get back to his feet if he does get taken down? He also does have a tendency in scrambles to give up his back sometimes, which is very, very dangerous against a guy like Tyra. So I've got Tyra in this one. It's not my most confident pick of all time because he is young and young guys do make mistakes. And, he didn't look like a complete world beater in his first fight in the UFC, which I don't think that's anything you can take away from him. You're talking about a 22-year-old guy in the bright lights for the first time against a grown man who's also in the UFC. So I don't take too much away from that. I think if anything, he's just going to be better in this fight. I think if anything, this is actually a better matchup for him than his first fight was. So I've got Tyra. I've got him in a parlay. And feel decent about it, but maybe not the strongest pick of all time.
I'm right there with you, man. I got Tyra too, and actually I'm going with finish. I like the sub line a lot. I think with his grappling skills, and I think just understanding strategy here, I could see this thing getting taken to the ground and Tyra finding a sub finish. So I'm right there with you on this one, man.
Yeah, I like it. And that sub line that you mentioned, that is a pretty good number because I was actually just looking at that not too long ago myself. You can get plus 380 on a Tyra sub right now. That's not a bad line to look at right there.
Not at all. Not at all. All right. The next one we got Askarov versus Brandon Royval.
You skipped one. Got Dusko and Jordan Wright.
Oh, that's right. Here we go. Next up we got Jordan Wright and Dusko Torovic.
Torovic, I think that's pronounced. These are two of my favorite guys to bet against. So it's interesting to see them fighting. Jordan Wright, I just don't think he has the skills to be in the UFC. And they're not in the same weight class, but unless he was fighting somebody similar to like Mike Jackson, there's very little chance that I would ever bet on Jordan Wright to win a fight in the UFC. So I'm heavily invested on the Dusko side. I do think another good angle to this fight is the under. Jordan Wright in 15 professional fights has never had a fight that's gone over a round and a half. He basically comes to kill or be killed. And if he can get you out of there in the first 2 or 3 minutes or so, he's got a couple finishes that way. But if he doesn't get you out of there in the first 2 or 3 minutes or so, you're probably going to find your range, and you're gonna either take him down and put him away, or just knock him out. He's been knocked out a couple of times. Joaquin Buckley was a memorable one. He also got knocked out on the Contender Series in like under a minute by Fluffy Hernandez, who's more of a grappler than a striker. I just don't think Jordan Wright belongs. He does have power. He's got a karate striking style that kind of throws wildly, not great defense. We did see him throw a wrinkle in his last fight, and he came and he tried to come with the wrestling against Marc-Andre Barriault. And what that did is got him caught in a guillotine and choked out about 2.5 minutes into the fight. Dusko strikes well. Dusko has decent takedowns, not the greatest in the world, but he's got them. He's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. The problem with Dusko is, and I've talked about this on this show before, and he hasn't made it any better, and he keeps getting knocked out himself because his defense is this. He does the lean straight back striking defense, and that is not an effective striking defense at the UFC level. That's going to get you put to sleep, as it has for him for a few times. That being said, is there a possibility that Wright sparks him in the first 2 minutes? Yeah, because he doesn't move his head and his striking defense isn't that great. But I think that he weathers the storm. I think maybe he even finds his own KO early, possibly a finish by ground and pound, possibly a submission. I think it's Dusko inside the distance. know that inside the distance is even necessarily worth betting, because I think you're still getting negative odds on inside the distance. But I am pretty heavily invested in Dusko, and I need to get on this under 1.5. I haven't bet that yet, but I'm going to be betting that and probably parlaying it, because I think that under 1.5 is like minus 200 or something like that. So I'll find another piece that I like to put with that. And yeah, I think I've got like 4 or 5 units on Dusko in different ways. So I'm heavy on the Dusko side of this one.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna stay away from this one just because the lines are so wide here, and like you said, I don't trust Jordan Wright. I do think Dusko's gonna get the win, but for me, minus 210 is what I'm seeing for odds right now. That's just like I could also see him blowing a parlay real late, and I just can't trust it. And I like the under, but everyone else does too. So it's just not for me, not the right betting odds. But I do think that you're right. I think Dusko's got the better route and better chance to put Jordan right away. And yeah, I'm on the Dusko train too as well.
I like it, man. I like it.
All right, now we've moved on to Askarov versus Brandon Royval. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, man. Askarov is really good, and he's one of those fighters that like I respect his skill set and love to hate him, because he's not the most interesting fighter in the world. He's one of these guys that wins a lot of decisions. I think every win in the UFC that he's had has been by decision, and wins a lot of decisions by wrestling. So that means clinching up against the cage. That means laying on top of dudes. He does have submissions that he'll look for, but thus far in the UFC hasn't found any. The dude is super, super talented, though, so you got to respect it. I mean, the dude recently fought Brandon Moreno to a draw. He's got that on his record. That's pretty impressive considering what Brandon Moreno's been up to recently. He's fought at a high level for a decent amount of time, and he shows out. He's good at what he does. And while he is a primary wrestler, he can also throw his hands a little bit. He's not a fish out of water on his feet. He's not Mackenzie Dern on his feet. He's definitely a guy who can throw hands a little bit too. Royval is scrappy. He has super quick striking. He can be a little wild at times. He also has submission skills on the ground. His offensive wrestling maybe isn't the greatest of all time, but it's not terrible. His takedown defense, though, and I think this is going to be the key to this one, Royval's takedown defense is not that great. And when you're fighting a guy who's as good of a wrestler as Askarov is, having suspect takedown defense is going to be a problem. Royval also has a problem of liking to hang out on his back a little bit too much sometimes and hunt for submissions from his back. I don't think he's going to submit Askarov off his back, and I think if he does that in this fight, it's a waste of time, and it's basically just going to be losing minutes for him. He does scramble well when he does try to scramble, but Askarov has really, really good top pressure. I see this one, as much as I hate to say it, because I do like Royval as a fighter, I see this being a grinded out, lay on top of him for most of the fight. Talking like 2-3 minutes around, Askarov wrestle decision win.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think the only thing you could really worry about is Royval's power of catching Askarov with something, but I think Askarov's got the better resume. I think he's got the better skills, and I'm really liking a finish in this. I'm liking a finish in this one, and specifically by sub. I'm definitely liking the sub line for Askarov right now. Like you said, I think he's just got really good resume, really good fighting skills. He's the real contender here for this weight division. He's climbing quickly. I mean, yeah, he lost to Kai Kara France, but I mean, Kai Kara France is a great fighter. And like you said, he fought Moreno to a draw. So to me, that's got, and I don't trust Brandon enough to place money on him. I think he's a good fighter, but not confident enough against Askarov enough to put any money on him.
All right. I like that we're on the same side. Different methods. You got Askarov by sub. I got Askarov by decision, but same fighter on the pick and the money line.
Yeah, I mean, I like the decision too. If when you look at statistics on it, right? Like most of his or all of his wins or most of his wins are by decision.
In
Most
the
of his
UFC, they are. I mean,
yeah,
when you
most
go
of his
back further,
yeah, but his last couple fights have been decisions. So, but that's why I think, hey, I think he's due for a finish. Odds are with me on this one. This one's like chasing red or well, UFC is pretty similar to roulette. Really don't know if it's going to land on red or black or green sometimes. So,
right.
praying.
Right. So that's the last one we were talking about is a perfect example of that. Is Dusko Torovic going to win by knockout or by sub? We don't really know. Like that's red or black. And then green is Jordan Wright sparks him.
Yeah, it's like what's going on? What do we think here? All right, our last fight of the night that we're going to talk about is the co-main event. This is Kobp Swanson versus Jonathan Martinez. Andrew, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, man. I don't even know where to start with Kobp Swanson. I mean, the guy's a freaking legend. Like he's this, I guess, like pinpoints my age a little bit and when I started to get into UFC and stuff like that. But like when I think of like just a UFC fighter, like a typical UFC fighter, Kobp Swanson's one of the first guys I think about for some reason. The dude's just been around forever. He's a legend. He's had such a storied career, going back all the way to the WEC before the UFC. Like I mentioned off the top of the show, though, what makes this fight especially interesting is at 38 years old, he's cutting to 135 pounds for the first time. So I do not have a bet on this fight for that exact reason. Is I want to wait and see actually how both of the guys in this fight end up looking on the scales, but Kobp especially want to see how he looks after making that weight cut. He's got great striking. He can be really tricky with his striking. He keeps his hands low, which against guys who are fast makes him a little hittable. I mean, the dude couldn't be a legend without being well-rounded. So of course he can wrestle and grapple a little bit too. I mean, just to throw it out there to I don't know, give a little bit of how storied this guy's career is. He has wins over Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier, are two of the guys he's beaten among many. Those are just the names that I think I can throw out that, right now today, a casual person will recognize. Those dudes are legends in their own right. And Kobp Swanson at one point in time, obviously they were much younger and not as far along in their careers as they are now, but Kobp Swanson's beaten both of those guys. Martinez, he's also going to be interesting to see how his weight cut goes because he bops back and forth between 145 and 135 looking at his last few fights, and he's had some tough weight cuts. So seeing how he makes 135 is going to also be interesting to look at on the scales. Martinez uses his kicks really well. He has good, really super technical striking, mixes his striking well. He's also pretty decently well-rounded. The guy's 7-3 in the UFC. You don't do that without being, at least decently well-rounded. Can definitely hunt for subs on the ground, but similar to Kobp, he's also hittable on the feet. I am leaning towards betting Kobp Swanson in this fight, especially because of where the line is at. You can get plus 175 on Kobp right now. And I think if we had some sort of assurance that we're going to see, I'm not going to say prime Kobp Swanson because I know we're not going to see, he's 38 years old. We're not going to see him look like he did when he was 30. It's just not going to happen. But if we can see a guy who's even like 85 or 90% of that, I think he wins this fight 8 times out of 10. But I think a lot's going to be told on how things look on the scales. And then even then, there's some guesswork to it with a 38-year-old guy who's had like 40 plus professional fights. So I'm leaning towards Kobp. I think he is just super tenacious, in your face, and that Martinez has had problems with guys like that in the past. And I think Kobp's the better striker and might even be able to spark it. So I'm cautiously, tentatively going with Kobp as my pick for now, and definitely going to be watching the weigh-ins closely for whether I bet this fight or not, and that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Kobp again. I think again, you look at the resume and you look at the guys he's fought, and I think him cutting down to that weight, I'm seeing this as something that could be a benefit for him. Keeping some of his power. If he can keep some of his power at that weight, that could be definitely an advantage for him. I think this is going to be a good move for him, and I like the underdog. I like that plus money. I think it's a good enough line. I feel confident taking that, so I'm with you. I'm on the Kobp train as well.
I love it, man. I love it. I think, did we go 4 for 4 all on the same side? That might be like the first time in history we've ever done that.
I think we may have. I think we may have gone 4
I think we just did. I think we just did. And I mean, 3 of those are the first 3 are pretty decent sized favorites, minus 200 or higher. So that's not shocking necessarily, but I think it is the first time we've been on the same side of every fight.
All right. So just because of this might be the bet of the week now. Is the first time that we've ever
just to parlay all 4 of those together with Kobp Swanson.
Yes. Right? Like, I mean, you look at that.
You're going to get some pretty decent odds on that. I don't know what that's going to add up to exactly. I mean, the first 3, those are favorites, but if you're putting Kobp Swanson in a 4-fighter parlay,
it's coming out at plus 600, my friend.
Yeah, there you go. That's not so bad.
That's the recline. That's the first time we've ever agreed on everything.
Yeah.
First time. So you know what? Maybe it's a sign.
It might be a sign to put a little tiny sprinkle on that as your lottery ticket of the week.
That's my lottery ticket. There you go, buddy. Creative.
Okay. I absolutely love it. I'm going to give you a little bit of a different one, just to be different. I'm not going to do it. I'm so tempted to bet Mike Jackson again because I hit on him against Dean Barry with the eye pokes and all that, the nut shots and all the fouls. I'm not going to do it. I think there's a world. I mean, Pete Rodriguez I don't think has ever been out of the first round in his professional career. So like there's a world where he gasses out and Mike Jackson picks him apart at range in the second and third round and wins a 29-28 decision. But even on a lottery ticket, I'm not going to bet that. I do really like, and I actually already bet this one at better odds than it is now. I think Sam Hughes should be way closer to a pick'em than an underdog. I got Sam Hughes at plus 165, just with a half unit bet. So it's a small bet, but I really liked that line. It's down to plus 140, which I like less, but I still think is bettable for a small bet. And definitely, if we're talking about a lottery ticket where we're hunting for some underdogs, Sam Hughes is one that I like. It is hard to find a whole lot of other underdogs that I like besides Sam Hughes and Kobp Swanson on this card. I'm sorry?
Throw Nick Maximov in there.
Yeah, I mean that fight is lined close to a pick'em, so you can get minus 125 on Maximov. I do like Maximov. I have not bet that fight. I'm not sure if I'm going to bet it because I like Maximov like 52% and Malkoun 48%. When it's that close, I usually just don't bet it. Like, I think being lined close to a pick 'em is right, but if I did have to pick somebody in that fight, I think Maximov's wrestling is better. And so I think he wins by having better wrestling. But sometimes when we have those like wrestler versus wrestler matchups, they have a super sloppy kickboxing match for 15 minutes and then who knows who wins. Yeah, I mean, the only underdogs that I'm seeing, I mean, maybe the lottery ticket is to say in that bizarre world where Pete Rodriguez gasses out after the first round and hasn't sent Mike Jackson to the shadow realm yet. Maybe that's the lottery ticket for this week. I'm talking myself into it. So my lottery ticket is gonna be Mike Jackson, Sam Hughes, and Cub Swanson. Whatever those three dogs add up to be. I mean, Mike Jackson is the lottery ticket of all lottery tickets. I think most likely he gets knocked out cold like within 2 minutes. But I think there's a world where if he doesn't get sparked that his opponent gasses. So that's the lottery ticket angle.
I like it. I love it. All right, who's
All
your
right.
knockout of the week?
There are a few on here. I mean, Rodriguez by knockout against Mike Jackson. This is one of like the funniest lines I've ever seen. There's like, okay, well, you can get it at minus 245 is your best line for Pete Rodriguez against Mike Jackson. There are some minus 300s for Rodriguez to win by knockout. So that one is too easy. We're not going to go there. We're not going to bet minus 300 on anybody against anybody to win by knockout. Even that fight, we're not betting that one. At least for me. I think, as sad as it is to say, I think Victor Henry has a shot for a knockout. Alonso's had a storied career, but he's definitely up there in age and not what he once was. Alonso Manyfield, I think, has got a really good shot for a knockout. Dusko, I think, has a good shot for a knockout. And that could be on the feet or that could be a ground and pound style knockout for Dusko. And I think Cub's got a shot. Cub would probably not be the one that I would bet. Confidence there is not super high. I think to pick one to be my pick for the week, I'm going to go Dusko Todorovic by knockout, either on the feet or ground and pound. It could be either one. That's going to be my knockout bet. I don't know if I'm going to bet that because I do think there's a chance that he wins by sub also. I also think there's a bizarre world where maybe this fight goes the distance. Like everybody's betting the under. I'm even leaning towards betting the under, even though I haven't bet it yet. But sometimes you get, everybody on one side of something. Everybody says this is going under 1.5, and then you get some sort of sloppy 3-round fight. And I think if we get that, I think Dusko definitely wins.
All right.
Well, yeah, I'm going Dusko. Stop me from talking because I'm starting to talk in circles and that makes sense.
I was gonna go Dusko myself, so I'm gonna go ahead and go a different route than you, so we can have another one. So mine's gonna be someone we didn't talk about tonight, but I do think he has amazing knockout power. He's got 12 wins, 9 of them by knockout. And that is Mr. Alonso Manyfield. He's fighting Misha Serkinov.
I like that. That would be my second choice. I love that.
He's got lights out power. He's coming off a KO win, and dude likes to finish people. So that's my knockout bet is Alonso.
Yeah. So you're getting Alonso plus 110 looks like the best line by knockout. So a lot of people are seeing that too, but that's still plus money.
Yep.
And I don't hate betting that. I don't know why I'm not seeing a line right now for Dusko by knockout, but I actually think it's minus money.
Probably.
I think I saw it at like minus 110 the other day. It might even be lower than that by now. But I like it. I like it. All right. What last thoughts do we have this week?
Well, I know for NFL, I don't know what's going on right now with the game, but I got pretty big money on the Chicago Bears right now. So let me check the scores on that. And then Bengals at Saints this weekend, man. I think I think we came off a tough loss against the Ravens, but I think we're bouncing back this week. What's your locks for the you got any NFL picks for this week?
Yeah, I haven't done my research, and so I don't have my bets yet. I mean, I threw the Rams into a parlay earlier in the week because I was like, all right, that's just free money. So that's the only NFL bet I have in so far. I'll probably do more of that
I wouldn't
research
say the Rams
tomorrow
I wouldn't say the Rams are free money this season.
against the Carolina Panthers at home.
They have not been playing well. I'm just saying.
They have not been playing well,
confident.
and at the same time, the Panthers look like maybe the worst team in the league this year.
They have no coach, so
yeah, my Jets are playing the Packers as well as the Jets have started the season.
Good win. Packers
They
are also
could,
playing
they
awful.
could. The Packers lost to the Giants last week, and I
They
didn't
get
see
the
that one
double-
coming.
The double bing bong New York.
That would be pretty sweet. Zach Wilson's playing well. We like how he looks. I mean, this is a young team that's rebuilding. They've pulled off a couple upsets, and I mean, last week beating the Dolphins with their third string quarterback. I don't know, as soon as
But
Teddy
you didn't
Bridgewater
lose.
went, as soon as Teddy Bridgewater went down, I slammed that live bet. I was like, all right, the Jets are going to beat their third string quarterback, even
They
if
didn't lose though. They didn't lose.
right. But it was closer than the score makes it seem. The final score was 40-17, but there were like two bad turnovers by this rookie third string quarterback in the fourth quarter that led to points for the Jets that made it more of a blowout than it seemed like. So yeah, I'm not picking the Jets to beat the Packers this weekend in Lambeau, but I'm also not betting the Packers either. That's just going to be a stay away game for me.
Yeah, my only other one is I'm taking the Bills over the Chiefs this weekend. I think the Bills are going to get it done. I think that they need to win here so they can secure that home field advantage for them in the playoffs.
I was going to say that right there is a very possible preview of, if not the AFC Championship game, some other playoff game possibly.
Yeah, 100%. And then I'm liking the points for the Cowboys versus Eagles. I'm liking the I think this could be a close one. I think the Cowboys.
What's the line?
Really, really good. I think it's -6.5 right now. So I'm liking Cowboys plus
6.5.
I can see that.
That's a really interesting one. I think we're gonna learn a lot about both of those teams through this game this week.
I think the Cowboys defense is gonna keep this thing close. I don't think they'll win, but I think they're gonna keep it close.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what the Cowboys defense has been doing to everybody all year, would they hold the Rams to like 10 points or something like that? Like
that,
yeah. Cowboys defense is obviously really, really good, and then Cooper Rush has been decent.
Right. So
I mean, he's definitely held it together.
All righty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for listening to another week's episode of Knockout Bets Podcast. Stay tuned for UFC 280 next week. That one's the one you definitely.
Oh man, if we're talking about picking 4 fights to highlight on that card, I don't even know how we're gonna do it.
No.
That card, man, top to bottom is. I mean, like you can stack
tickets.
that up against like UFC 200.
I think we just buy tickets and fly out there, buddy.
I am not opposed to that idea. Is it in Vegas?
No,
Where is
it's in
it?
Abu Dhabi.
Oh, Abu Dhabi. That's right. Yeah, we're not going there.
Anyone want to sponsor us to go over there?
Uh,
Boy, happy. Send some
but that
fans over
card,
here.
though, jokes aside, like that stacks up against UFC 200. That stacks up. I mean, going into it with it having not happened yet, on paper, top to bottom, that's like one of the most exciting cards the UFC has ever put out in the history of the UFC to
Yeah.
me. I mean, the quality of matches that you have, matchups that you have on even the like that's just I don't even know. My brain is broken thinking about how great of a card that is going to be.
It's gonna be a good one for sure.
Yeah, this is just a little appetizer for that card.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady fighting each other on the prelims. You have Kyle Borrallo on the prelims. You have, oh man, just top to bottom. I think they took Almeida off the card. Almeida was on the card at one point, and I think they pushed him back to a later card, but he was on the card at one point in time. We got Muhammad Makayev on the card. It's looking forward to that one.
It's gonna be a banger for sure. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in. Make sure to tune in for next week's for UFC 280 card, and always remember to keep the change.
The change.